The reason most people struggle with manifestation isn't because they're missing the right method. It's because they're still reacting to what they see in front of them. They say trust the process, but the moment the 3D doesn't shift fast enough, panic takes over. Suddenly, they're scrolling for proof, trying a dozen new techniques, or convincing themselves that something must be wrong. That's not conscious creation. That's emotional dependency. And as long as you're dependent on circumstances for your sense of stability, you're not leading reality, you're following it. Detachment is what breaks that cycle. It's not about pretending you don't care or suppressing emotions. It's about choosing your inner stability before the evidence appears. When you detach, you stop letting the 3D reality set the terms of your identity. You stop waiting for validation. You stop measuring your progress by movement. You reclaim your emotional sovereignty, and that's where manifestation actually begins. Nothing moves in this physical world until you stop being controlled by it. Detachment is the moment you stop negotiating with reality and start directing it. You become the cause instead of the effect.
Exactly. People misunderstand detachment because they think it means being indifferent. But real detachment is clarity, it's calm authority, it's knowing who you are even when nothing seems to be happening. You can still want something deeply, you just don't place your peace on whether it shows up tomorrow or next year or whenever. When you're truly detached, you stop scanning for proof. You stop asking, is it working? You're no longer emotionally tethered to the timeline. You're anchored in your state, not the outcome. That's why things begin to shift. The 3D finally reflects that inner certainty. It's not magic, it's mechanics. The outer world can only mirror the energy you sustain. If that energy keeps saying, I'm still waiting, then waiting is what gets reinforced. But when you hold the frequency of, I already am, reality bends around that identity. Detachment isn't about losing interest, it's about embodying completion. And the moment you do that, you stop chasing and you start choosing.
A lot of people sabotage their manifestations because they confuse desire with attachment. Desire is natural. It's an expression of consciousness expanding itself. You're meant to want things. Desire is not the problem. Attachment is. Attachment is what happens when you decide you can't feel whole, safe, or satisfied until the desire shows up in physical form. That mindset instantly creates separation. The desire becomes something out there you need to reach instead of a state of being that you select from within. You can always tell when someone is attached because they obsess over time. Where is it? Why hasn't it happened yet? What do I need to fix? That's not alignment. That's a nervous system waiting for something external to give it permission to relax. When you're attached, you don't actually believe you have what you want. You're hoping you'll get it. Hope seems positive, but energetically, hope is black disguised as optimism. Hope says, it isn't here yet. That energy keeps your desire at a distance. Attachment creates energetic tension, and tension blocks movement. Not because the universe is testing you or because you need to prove yourself, but because your state is so rooted in absence. Manifestation has nothing to do with effort and everything to do with assuming the identity of the one who already has.
And this is exactly why so many people feel like they're doing everything right, but then end up stuck. They're saying affirmations, they're doing visualization, they're meditating, they're journaling, Yet underneath all of that, there's emotional needs. They're not practicing from fullness, they're participating from fear. They're hoping the technique will give them relief instead of choosing inner certainty first. But let's make this clear. You don't need to release your desire. You need to release the fear around it. People who say, just let it go, without understanding this, end up teaching emotional avoidance, not creation. You don't let go of what you want. You let go of the belief that it defines your worth or your happiness. Attachment always comes from a rooted identity. It comes from believing something outside of you has the power to complete you. Detachment is simply the return to wholeness. When you're whole, you don't chase anything. When you're secure, you don't obsess. When you know who you are, your desire is no longer a source of pressure. It becomes a natural extension of your being. That's the shift that collapsed time.
One of the biggest misunderstandings in manifestation is the idea that you have to try to manifest something. The harder someone tries, the further away the desire seems to get. Trying implies effort, and effort implies separation. The moment you say, I'm trying to manifest this, you've already placed it outside of yourself. You've unconsciously said, it's not mine yet. Creation doesn't work from that state. The more you try, the more you reinforce the belief that something is missing. Lack doesn't manifest abundance. Fear doesn't manifest love. Doubt doesn't manifest certainty. You can't create from the same state that believes it doesn't have what it wants. People get caught in manifestation loops because they're stuck trying to change something outside of themselves. But manifestation isn't about getting, it's about being. It's not about performing rituals to force movement in the 3D. It's about selecting your identity internally and assuming it as a fact before any physical confirmation. When you reach that state, trying becomes irrelevant. You're no longer trying to manifest. You're expressing who you already are.
Exactly. Trying to manifest is actually a form of resistance. It keeps you locked in the idea that there's something to attain. But the truth is, manifestation is not a process of acquisition. It's a process of recognition. You don't chase what's already yours. You recognize it. You claim it energetically long before it arrives physically. This is why quantum teachings, Neville Goddard's, and even ancient mystic traditions say the same thing but in different words. Assumption is creation. Your inner state determines everything. Once your identity shifts, reality has no choice but to reorganize itself to reflect it. But people block that shift by obsessing over method. They're trying to do manifestation instead of being the manifested version of themselves. Obviously, technique has its place, but identity is what commands creation. If your state is still, I'm trying, your reality will keep reflecting that effort. That's why nothing moves. The moment you decide, this is who I am, everything changes. Your thoughts, your reactions, your energy, and eventually your physical reality. Manifestation isn't hard. It's only hard when you refuse to let go of a version of you who doesn't have it.
If there's one concept that separates people who manifest consistently from those who stay stuck, it's this. Reality does not respond to desire. It responds to identity. You never get what you want, you get who you are. The identity you occupy, consciously or unconsciously, is what sets the tone for your reality. And until that identity shifts, your life won't. There is where waiting energy becomes a silent killer in manifestation. People think they're in fake because of being patient. But waiting is just a sophisticated form of doubt. Think about it. When you wait, you're acknowledging a gap between you and your desire. You are still saying, it's not here yet. And because the 3D is a mirror, all it can do is reflect that state back to you. So it continues to not be here. The version of you who already has what you want is not waiting for it. They're living from it. And that's the difference. You either live in longing or in embodiment. You either send out lack or ownership. The 3B is not late. You are simply delaying your own manifestation by refusing to step into the identity that matches it. Identity is not about repeating affirmations all day. It's a decision. It's choosing who you are regardless of evidence. When your identity shifts, your behaviors change naturally. Your emotional reactions change naturally, and eventually your reality follows.
Waiting energy is subtle because it sounds reasonable. I trust divine timing. It will come when the universe is ready. I know it's on its way. These statements seem positive, but if you feel any anxiety beneath them, that's not faith, that is simply waiting. People say they trust, but they still check for signs every day. They still monitor their progress. They still react when nothing changes. That means they don't actually trust, they're just coping. And the cure for waiting energy is identity embodiment. You stop trying to control timing because you're no longer in a state of hoping. It is already done. You just need to stop. You just stop needing reassurance because you're rooted in who you've chosen to be. This is what Neville Goddard meant when he said, claim it and it will respond. He never says claim it and wait for it. He meant claim it and live from it now. If you still feel like you're waiting, it's not because your manifestation is far away. It's because you're still identifying as the version of you who doesn't have it. Should be identity and you collapse time. It's that simple.
Detachment isn't just a mindset, it's emotional leadership. It's deciding that your inner world is no longer negotiable. Most people let their emotions get hijacked by the 3V because they believe their reactions are automatic. But reactions aren't automatic, they are conditioned. And anything conditioned can be preconditioned. That's where emotional control comes in. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing how you feel. It means refusing to let temporary appearances dictate your state. Detachment is the ability to remain internally stable no matter what shows up in the 3D. If your desire hasn't shown up yet, you don't spiral, you stay solid. If the opposite shows up, you don't start doubting, you remain anchored. Emotional control means you stopped outsourcing the piece. People say, but I can't help how I feel. Yes, you can. You can't stop an emotion from surfacing, but you can decide whether you feed it or dismiss it. Your awareness determines your state. When you detach, you stop reacting and start responding in alignment with your chosen identity. You no longer ask, where is it? You simply think, speak, and act as the version of you who already has it. That's emotional sovereignty.
And here's what people often misunderstand about emotion detachment. I think it means nothing affects you, but that's just not true. You can experience emotion without losing yourself in it. Emotional neutrality doesn't mean numbness. It means perspective. You stop giving emotional emergencies to situations that don't deserve them. When you detach, you stop making everything about your manifestation. One bad day doesn't mean you're blocked. A slow week doesn't mean you're failing. Silence from a specific person doesn't mean rejection. Lack of movement doesn't mean lack of progress. Detachment disconnects emotion from meaning. You're no longer attached. So you no longer attach negative stories to neutral events. This is what actually speeds up manifestation. When your nervous system calms down, resistance dissolves. You're no longer sending mixed signals to reality. You're aligned, you're clear, you're consistent. You become predictable to the universe because your state is stable. You're no longer emotionally negotiating with life, you're instructing it. Detachment is not just energetic, it's behavioral. You behave like the person who already has it. You think differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself differently. Outer change follows inner instruction, and detachment makes that instruction absolute.
Detachment isn't something you wait to feel, it's something you train into your nervous system by repetition. You choose it until it becomes automatic. People overcomplicate manifestation, but you don't need 100 techniques. You need emotional consistency. You need to hold your state long enough for reality to catch up. So here's a simple structure that eliminates waiting energy and builds detachment fast. A 7-day protocol. Every morning, set your identity first. Not your mood, not your to-do list, your identity. Decide who you are before the world has a chance to convince you otherwise. One clear sentence is enough. I am the version of me who already has blank. Own it before the day begins. Then throughout the day, your only job is to respond from that identity. If the 3D challenges you, don't slip back into your old state. Hold your decision. Each time your mind tries to check for progress or starts telling the old story, cut it off. You don't argue with the old self, you dismiss it. You don't negotiate with doubts, you override them. Detachment isn't found in thinking, it's found in decision. Date first, state only, date always.
And every time a 3D tempts you to react, you use what I call the neutralizing thought. Even if nothing changes today, I remain who I have decided to be. That sentence ends emotional bargaining. It ends checking for movement. It ends pressure. It tells your nervous system we're safe even without evidence. That's what turns desire into embodiment. For 7 days, claim your identity in the morning. Hold your state during the day and at night. Close the loop by returning to certainty. As you fall asleep, don't visualize desperately. Don't affirm frantically. Simply assume completion. It is done. I am. And that's it. No emotional performance, just quiet ownership. Stillness is power. Detachment isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a stance you choose. It's leadership over self. And once you reach that level of inner authority, reality has no choice but to align. Because reality doesn't respond to effort. It responds to who you've decided to be and who you refuse to stop being.
If you're serious about mastering this, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so that this work stays in your awareness. And don't keep this to yourself. Share it with someone who's ready to stop waiting and start creating. Until next time, think differently, dream boldly, and create consciously.
I'm a quiet rebel, I don't need a shower. Changing the world from the inside out. No fist in the